Yeah, dude, Borat too. What did you think? I guess yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about this film. I definitely would say it. The first Borat is one of my favorite comedies of all time, and I do think that in a sense, it was lightning in a bottle as the best comedies are, in the sense that it can't truly be replicated to the fullest extent. And I think we saw that a little bit with the sequel. I liked the sequel. I didn't love it. I think it came. There were moments where it came close to capturing some of the original's brilliance, but overall, I don't quite think it lived up. That being said, I really enjoyed it. Glad it exists. What was your opinion?
Yeah, I think that in the same way that if you rewatch the original, there are some scenes that just kind of are there to trot the film along. I think that there are some
Yeah,
slower moments in this film and some stuff that just didn't land that much for me.
yeah,
I thought that there were there was obviously some really great scenes when he's out with the QAnon friends and he like, oh, can I stay away from the virus? And and obviously the performance scene at the
March for Our Rights.
yeah, the March for Our Rights
Yeah,
rally, that which leaked to the public. Obviously, I think we did a standalone reaction to that for the. But those things I think were the closest it came. It kind of reminded me of the when he's
yeah,
on the in the trailer or whatever the fuck when they're on the RV with the frat boys and Borat
yeah,
one. The scene with the high society lady where they were kind of trying to replicate what went on in Borat 2. I thought that one was less of a win
yeah.
when he was trying to go back to the well for that one.
Hmm.
Same with some of the scenes where it was like really hammering home the whole like daughter thing. I was like, oh, this is a little cringy, but obviously, you
Yeah,
know, that's
yeah.
Borat.
That's for sure. And I think something I was thinking about after watching this movie is that despite the fact that Cohen, the spoiler alert, at the end of this film, he kind of the point is like, well, Borat realizes that it's actually Americans, not Jews or not women, or it's Americans that are the ones to be feared and have this resentment towards or whatever. But ultimately, I don't really think that many of the actual citizens he talks to or the victims in this film, I don't think they come across as bad as they did in the original movie. I think that America, its people don't quite come off as poorly as they did in the original film. And I think part of that is that we've all gotten so used to everything being filmed, everything being put online, people getting canceled over saying dumb or racist stuff, that I think people are just a little bit more desensitized to the whole, like, there's a camera in my face and someone doing crazy shit. And like, I just think people are a little bit, less or a little bit more reticent to just let their, racism or whatever all out there. Obviously, there's a few scenes where he totally gets people, like the cake decorating woman who puts
The
the
cake decorating
Jews.
woman, the man with the propane. How many Jews can I kill with this? If
Oh
I,
God, yeah, that's true.
he was like,
That's
I
true.
would probably go with the bigger size. And he was
That's
like, how
true.
many can I, as
And
many as you can fit in the van? Like,
and that's what he's really the best at exposing, is just that really like casual bigotry or racism or sexism. I guess there just wasn't as many moments where he really got a great reaction, in the same sense that Who Is America, there was some people that he just obliterated, made them do pull down their pants and run around the room and like all kinds of crazy shit. So in this movie, there were certain scenes where I kind of felt like the joke went on for a bit long and he wasn't really getting anything out of them. Like there's the part where his daughter character goes to the women's Republican voters meeting, and she starts trying to say all this crazy shit about, I just masturbated for the first time. and
yeah, that was
and
a
mo-
little.
most of the women are just kind of like, they come off better than you expect. I think the point was to get them to freak out and start moralizing and slut shaming or whatever, but they are kind of just like, is this
Yeah,
girl
there was that
drunk?
one lady in the back that was clapping.
Yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, for the most part, I just felt uh, like sometimes the people in the film kind of like they kind of counteracted his point he was making about Americans, because they didn't actually come off as like hateful as he was hoping. I guess I don't know.
I mean, I guess to an extent, that's that I maybe be just because of how bad everybody came off it in the wake of 9/11 and
Yeah.
the Bush years, which
Yeah.
was so apparent, right? They were ready to, carpet bomb everything to
Yeah.
oblivion, hang you because you look like you need to shave that and look like an Italian and stuff like that scene, things like that were, I mean, a dime a dozen. It was right picking. Whereas, like, I think I don't know. Like I said, I thought that one of the more successful bits was when he was with the QAnon guys, because I think getting them comfy with him and just riffing and whatnot. Another good throwaway scene that I did like, that was just more like um, I don't know, just like low hanging fruit that I did think sold, was when he was when he dressed up as the old man and went in to get the cell phone, and then like, looks up the porn video and
Yeah,
like
that was
to go in the
funny.
back, and it's like, oh, I think he figured out how it works. Like, that was funny, and that was like, there were some like gem moments like that. But I do think that Borat functions differently as a character in the age of the internet, right? And it almost kind of fucks with like, gets into the idea of like, celebrity and everybody's on screen. So it's like, what are you? I don't know. It kind of changes things for sure, because when the first Borat came out, we were still not on the internet really. We were, but not in the massive way that media is on the internet now, for sure. I mean, YouTube didn't even get invented until 2004. So
yeah, I mean, society is just online in a way that it really was not at that point. And that goes to my point earlier about how, we live in this society where, there's a bunch of shows on YouTube and Facebook and all kinds of social media where people basically do similar things that, Sacha Baron Cohen pioneered back in the day with Borat, where they'll set up secret cameras and then do outrageous pranks. Yeah. So he's kind of, culture is really caught up to him, which I do think explains, some of the lack of success when it comes to some of the results in this movie. But then, where he does succeed, he really truly does, of course, succeed. Of course, everyone's been talking about the
elephant in the room,
the Rudy Giuliani scene. And I think that is,
that's a crown jewel.
It's almost, career ending level of craziness what he got.
I wish they would have let it go a smidge further, just so that I wish they would have let it go like let's get it, you know what I mean? Like, let's see, because you cannot watch that and not know exactly what's going down.
I know. I wonder if there was some legal reason. Like, I wonder if they were afraid of, if they actually let him expose himself on camera, then he might.
If they wouldn't be able to use it.
Yeah, or he may be able to have more grounds for a lawsuit. I don't know. But I kind of felt like that's why Sacha intervened when he did, because he was like, oh, this is about to cross a line of legality or something, and I want to cap it here before we, are in hot water.
I can't use this footage.
Exactly. But yeah, that is, just a devastating moment. And even before Giuliani reaches in his fucking pants, the way he acts that entire interview is so fucking creepy. He's like, smiling and like acting like a pedophile grandfather or something. Like,
yeah, dude, it's fucking so disgusting.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely like you said, the crowning jewel of this movie. And if there's one reason to watch the whole thing, it's definitely that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, there are bright moments throughout the film where you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong? But and obviously Sacha Baron Cohen is a master of his craft. And one of the things that I don't even really consider, or I didn't even really think about Sacha, is that, this is a British actor, right? Like, when you listen to him in his interviews, like, he's British as all hell, and he completely transforms into his characters, specifically the character Borat, who I will say his age showed a lot more in Borat than it did in Chicago 7, two films that were filming at the same time. He looked really older to me, but I mean, just in his, but yeah, that was just an aside, I guess. I was like, wow, Borat really seems to have aged. And I think it honestly kind of made it better and worse, because it was like, okay, like, his age kind of represents like the time, but it also, I think, reminded me a little bit of like, okay, it's not quite as good as the real thing was. I don't know. I always have that trouble when I watch sequels like this.
Oh, me too.
I get glimpses of it and I'm almost like, Sacha, like, I know you're a genius. Like, you could have come up with a new character to do this with and expose, like, but I also understand that in a way the Trump years feel beyond parody. So it's nice to see somebody like Sacha Baron Cohen return with a familiar character and get the job done in a way that I think is at least serviceable, for sure. Better than serviceable.
Yeah, it's definitely serviceable. Again, my main critique of this film is that towards the end of the point, he kind of makes this point that, America's basically a nation of, gun-toting, Trump-supporting Karens and stuff like that. But he doesn't, I don't think he ever fully succeeds in capturing that element of the populace. Where was a total Karen freak out that he captured? Whereas, with someone with a mask or something like that. I feel like that would have been a great social, really topical thing to cover, you know, how many people have been freaking out about masks and
instead of the car ride where his daughter's freaking out about a woman driving.
That's what I mean. Like, that's not very relevant. It's not really making a clever point. Like, we all understand that America is kind of backwards in some ways, and we're not totally caught up to the developed world and all. Like, that's not like that clever of a point.
And what has changed about that since the last Borat, which is why I felt like it was just retrodden territory.
And that's a great example of the kind of scene where it was like, where her in the car, it's like, it was mildly amusing, but it's also just like, what are you really saying here? This isn't really new ground.
The breast implants storyline, I was like, okay. And she even ate the monkey in the crate, like, that was funny, I guess. But
and even the characters that do come off, or not characters, but the people that do come off as really poorly, like that woman in the plastic surgery place who's basically like, not even batting an eye to the fact that this girl's about to go through this, even the
or the guy who says that he would have slept with the 15-year-old girl had her dad not been right there. That was bad.
But that guy was, that was beyond the pale. But a lot of these people, like, they don't even necessarily come off as hateful. They just kind of come off as unimpressive, slimy and kind of ignorant.
I think if anything, that's what the movie does kind of exposes the rot and hollowness within every American who is just out looking to make a buck. From everybody from the baker, who is willing to write "Juice will not replace us" without fucking like how do you not object to that? How do you know? Fuck no, I'm not writing that on the cake. Get the fuck out of my store. Like,
that was one of the best.
Like, I think I thought that even like a bad person would at least like put on the front, like, oh, okay, you want me to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, those are definitely the best moments. And maybe it's just my expectations are so high because
I had really high expectations as well.
Who is America in particular, the kind of reactions he got from people and the kind of stuff that he got people to do was like a whole nother level of, like, he literally got people to, criminally engage in literal like criminal behavior. People thought they were like blowing up Black Lives Matter protesters or Women's March protesters. Like, he got like right wing people to pretend they were doing all kinds of crazy shit and totally go along with it. So I just feel like he kind of maybe the ball was dropped just a little bit as far as what he actually provoked people into doing, the insane things that he was able to.
Yeah, because the gimmick with Pence, I understand it's tough to get to the vice president, but that gimmick with Pence didn't really sell. Like, I'm bringing my daughter to offer you, like, that was like 25 minutes of the movie that we could have scrapped with a different bit. You know what I mean? It's like,
I totally agree. Yeah. And again, it's like, if you're gonna break into the CPAC, again, it's like, that's the best.
Eric Andre style, you know what I mean? Like, at least get something. Like, obviously you can't get Vice President Pence, so go and get somebody who is like a little bit lesser down. Like, get your Rudy Giuliani. Like, that was smart. Like, if he'd gotten invited into Paul Manafort's house during house arrest, like, I just think that Sacha Baron Cohen is clever. And I think he, like, the Rudy Giuliani thing set the bar where it's like, this is what he's capable of. So it's like, why was there all that other not quite as good shit that I watched for about half the movie?
Agreed. And again, like, some of it was semi low hanging fruit. Why can't you, find a way to interview John Bolton and expose that guy? Like, someone who's, the media wants to totally slobber over because he's pretends to be anti-Trump for 5 seconds. Like, there are better targets, I feel like, that could have been totally just savaged by someone like Sacha Baron Cohen, that I feel like may have been missed opportunities. But again, there are
Conway family, like,
people like that. I don't know. It just seemed like after Who Was America set the bar really high for me, this one wasn't quite able to clear that bar. It kind of
feels like more. I don't want to say it's like at the level of Bruno for me, because I didn't like Bruno at all. But
I think quality wise, it's on the level of Bruno.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people did actually like Bruno. I thought that it was whatever. But I like this a little bit more than that. But I certainly wouldn't. I don't think it's anywhere near his best like Borat bits or Ali G bits or. I think that it's like you said. I think the best thing is like, the times have caught up to Sacha Baron Cohen. He's no longer a groundbreaking comedian. Like, I was thinking about it. This dude invented Borat and started doing Borat for the first time on air in Britain in the late 90s.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
You know what I mean? That's 20. I mean, it was like the year I was born was the year that Ali G debuted.
Yeah.
Like, so he's been doing this for so long that it's like the rest of the people have borrowed so much from him that if you're Sacha Baron Cohen, you have to do it like in a way nobody else has ever done. And so it kind of feels like a ball drop. So I don't want to dog the dude because it's he revolutionized this style of comedy and whatever. But I just felt like some of the bits didn't land as well as I want. It's kind of like watching SNL, where you see a bunch of really talented people doing shit that's not making you laugh all the way at times.
That's a good comparison, yeah. And also, I will have to say, I feel like Sasha's kind of been, watching a little bit of MSNBC lately. This movie definitely felt a little bit steeped in that, kind of liberal culture, I would say, especially where at the end, he kind of turns it into like a go vote kind of a thing, which it's fine. Like, I mean, I want Trump out of office as much as the next man. And I get like people feel like they have to, use their art to in this moment or like whatever, but it just also comes off as
a little tired and lazy. Well, you can call it what it is.
It's tired and lazy, exactly. And also in a similar vein, maybe this is just me, but I also felt that it was just a little bit patronizing. How I feel like Sacha Baron Cohen, he looks back at Borat and he kind of feels a little bit guilty for some of the like more edgy, offensive humor in that movie. So I feel like he kind of tried to like over self-correct a little bit in this one by like, Borat.
Dude, I don't know. I
What, dude?
Oh, go ahead.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I think my internet connection like dropped or something for a sec. But yeah, I just feel like he kind of over like self-corrected a little bit to the point where it was just a tiny bit patronizing, where it was like, Borat finds out about that women are equal and Borat finds out that Jews are equal. Like the point of the Borat character in the first place was to prove, that xenophobic, ignorant Americans like will actually believe his outrageous stereotype of a, Middle Eastern type person. And that despite that, how flagrantly sexist and offensive Borat as a character is, that a lot of those same values are found here in America. And I think that like people understand that. You don't have to like, explain the joke.
Feed it to them. Yeah.
And be like,
although, dude,
don't worry.
When he walked into the synagogue, I was like, oh, fuck,
okay.
Dude. I was oh my God, why are you doing this? For the record, Sacha Baron Cohen, does come from a Jewish lineage.
Yeah, he does.
And that's why he makes it like a primary part. But I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Sasha, that was like, for 2020, like, whoo, that was a line, bro.
I think I do think I read that he, like kind of told those women that like about what was going on, so they were
okay, because I was like, that is fucked up. Like, I felt genuinely bad for those women, like when I was like, I mean, like it seemed like but
I think they were in on it, and I think that like that whole scene was, like I said, to kind of like make the point, like, oh look, like to make sure we're not like actually enforcing anti-Semitic stereotypes.
Yeah. Whereas I think, but I definitely don't think when he was wearing the Klan outfit through the Republic, that I don't think that was planned at all.
No, that was hilarious. That was the kind of stuff funny, that was the like one of the best parts of the movie. And
I needed to wear something that would not go on, or that would go undetected.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, this is a great, it's definitely a good time if you have some time on your hands. Definitely worth watching. Don't get us wrong. It's an interesting
October surprise.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely wasn't expecting to ever get a Borat sequel. So I mean, it's cool that we even have this. Obviously there's some pretty crazy stuff in here. Overall, it wasn't as great as the original, but we
had really high expectations on the podcast. Let's just put it that way. Gavin and I were hyped for this movie, and every time I'm really hyped for a movie that like debuted before I remember it, it always is a letdown. So I should have known better, but it definitely had its moments, and I think if you went and watched a YouTube compilation of its best bits, that's the best way to view the material.
Yeah. If you're not like a diehard Sacha Baron Cohen fan, check out the Rudy Giuliani part. Check out the highlights and check
out the QAnon guys. Yeah. That was funny. The high society bit.
I was genuinely wondering if those guys were in on it or not. I almost have a feeling that those two guys were like in on it.
Really? Because I was I don't know. Maybe it would bother me if they were, because I thought that was the best part. Like how far he took it with those guys who seemed to me just like random dudes. Like probably it was scripted, but he sold it enough that I can tell myself that it wasn't.
Something just with the fact that it was right when COVID was starting makes me think it wasn't legit, because that almost seems like a weird like legal area. Like they could.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, but I think it was also if they were having the rally at that point still. I mean, I don't think there had been the like federal closures at that point. So maybe if he was in a state like North Dakota, we don't know exactly. I mean, I don't remember where that March for Our, whatever the fuck it was.
And I mean, he could have sold them a false premise too. He could have said like, I'm traveling across America as part of a conservative web series about something, you know, like he could have.
I'm sure. Yeah, if he filmed
Yeah.
him in on anything, he had to lie to him.
Yeah. So yeah, and if he did actually, if it is authentic, then that is probably the best, you know, part of the movie outside of the Giuliani bit, because that is pretty hilarious.
And also, you know, Gavin, be careful, they're gonna chop you up like the Saudis do.
that shit is hilarious. I love the fact that he
Now the journalist, what we're gonna do? Chop them up like the Saudis do.
As someone who's seen that, like the original recording of that so many times, I was almost wanting it to keep going on, because it goes on for like 8 minutes in the actual version. So.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, that's like one of the, also like, if we hadn't had seen that, that would have been way high on our list.
True.
So it's a bummer that got leaked.
Yeah, it is. But
once you find out that it's Sacha Baron Cohen, it almost makes me wonder, like, we should have known immediately that it was Borat 2 once.
Yeah, I know, right?
That drop, I was like, okay, it's Borat 2, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd say I recommend the film. It's nothing groundbreaking like the original, but if you're a fan of the original, it's certainly worth checking out.
3 out of 5 stars for me.
That's fair. That's, I think, a fair rating.
Yeah. Anyway.